Hey, you can't have a show without a Tiemans. Zechariah Tiemann says a key aspect in the progressive worldview is the idea that if the cause is a noble one, anything and everything done to achieve it is justified. So the question is, when do the ends justify the means and when do they not? And I've given this a little bit of thought, and the answer is, Zechariah, the more I think about it, I think more people have been killed as a result of the sentence, the end justifies the means, than any other single ideology in history. I think the end justifies the means is what has been used in every single genocide in human history and most of the wars. So I don't think it's ever justified. The end justifies the means is probably the most evil sentence that ever's been written. And even if you think you're going to do good with the ends justify the means, it's still evil. It's nothing but temptation. That's why the genius really, sometimes the lightest entertainment has the deepest genius in it. I did an afterburner about, when Maureen Dowd, when he was just elected, said that Barack Obama was Mr. Spock and why he shouldn't sit in the captain's chair. I love that Star Trek afterburner. But there's a point that I didn't make, and that is the point that's made in The Wrath of Khan. In Wrath of Khan, Spock, the brilliant one, the intellectually brilliant one, says that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. You ask any progressive if the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one, and they'll say, of course they do. Of course the needs of the many outweigh the needs of these 10 people or this one person. Of course the needs of 10 million people have more weight than the needs of that one person. And once you make that decision, and once you're comfortable with that, and once you accept that as just obviously logically true, because Spock says it's logically true, and he's right. Once you understand that it's logically true, then the gulags and the death camps are just a matter of time. Kirk's position is, and when you think about it, the American position is, if one of our guys is down, if we have a soldier that's been left behind, or a better example is if we have an airman that's shot down behind enemy lines, then we'll send 10 guys in to rescue him, or 100 guys in to rescue him, or 1,000 guys in to rescue him. And then you get into, well, what's the sense in that? Well, first of all, it doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be the right thing to do. It has to be morally correct. That is the morally correct position. If we are asking a pilot to fly over enemy territory, and by flying over enemy territory risk being captured, tortured, or tortured to death, imprisoned for life, then we've made a bargain with this young man or woman nowadays, and the bargain is that you are going to take that risk with the understanding that if your number should come up and you get shot down, then we will come and rescue you. And then people on the left will say, are you telling me that if one pilot gets shot down, you're willing to send 1,000 people in to rescue him, and all of those 1,000 people might be killed in the rescue attempt? And I say, I'm categorically stating that's what I would do, and I don't think there's any other position. The needs of the one outweigh the needs of the few or the many. That guy's in distress, and we are going to mobilize every resource we have until we get him back. And if you don't understand that, there's something wrong with you. You're broken. And that's what the Coast Guard is all about. You've got a ship in distress out at sea, and they're in real trouble, and they're likely going to die. But now you're going to send another crew full of 4 guys in a helicopter out into these horrible conditions and risk losing them too just to save a guy who's in a lifeboat? Yes. Yes, that's right. The needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. That's the kind of world you want to live in. It's the kind of world all of us want to live in. Somebody is in a well, a little baby's in a well, or is trapped in a mine or something, and 5,000 men or 500 men or 50 men are going to dig their way down there and risk their lives to save an infant. They might all be killed. They're all fathers who have kids to support. Is this the right thing to do? Shouldn't we just let that child die? Doesn't that make sense? Of course it makes sense. It's the wrong and evil thing to do. It's not even something you can explain to people. You're either wired that way or not. You either are or you aren't. Do you want to live in a world where your life is calculated as a percentage of the total number of people risked, or would you rather live in a world where your life is perceived to be so valuable that thousands of people are going to risk theirs in exchange to save yours? I know which one I'd rather live in. There's no question about it for me. That's why The Wrath of Khan is such a profoundly deep story. It's ultimately about Kirk saying, yes, I will destroy the ship and I will kill everybody on it to have the chance to save my friend. Because he would have done the same for me. Whether he would have done it in Spock's case or not, he would have. Spock would have. He would have done it. He would have beaten himself up over it because it's not logical, but he would have done it. So this is the answer of this kind of moral question of when do the ends justify the means? Never. They never justify the means. Bill, if you had to kill one innocent person to save the country, an innocent American, and you had to shoot him in the head, and by shooting him in the head, you would abolish progressivism forever, and you would get rid of Hillary Clinton and Obama, and you'd get the best president who ever lived, a guy to make Romney, or a guy who'd make Ronald Reagan look like a piker. And all you have to do is kill this one guy. He's probably going to die anyway. Would you do it? I would not. I would not. We can overthrow these people without having to murder this guy, and I wouldn't do it. And this is where you get down to these some of these ethical questions where they ask, if you control a switch, you're in a switch, and there's a trolley coming down a path, and you control the switch, and if the trolley continues straight, it's going to hit a group of people. If you divert it over to one side, it's going to kill one person. If it goes straight, it's going to kill 10 people. What would you do? If I was in that situation, I would divert it to kill the one person, because the 10 people are going to die and the one person is going to die. One of these two things is going to happen. We don't send people to If you had asked me, and let me explain to you what the difference is, why this answer is different than the one I just gave. If I had told you that we have a pilot behind enemy lines, would I send 1,000 men in to rescue him? I absolutely would. But if we had a pilot behind enemy lines, would you say, well, would you kill 1,000 men to rescue him? Would you just shoot him in the head? Of course not. Of course not. Isn't this hard to figure out? No. Now you're talking about certain death for either 10 people or one person. That's not the same thing. Would I risk jumping in front of something? Yes. Would the 10 people? Yes, of course they would. You take a risk to save a life. You take a risk, but it's not a suicide mission. This is not obvious to many people. I read this, I think I might have put it in one of my eject essays, but it's superb. It's a short story. It's written by this woman. I've forgotten her name now. I am losing my memory so fast, I'm telling you. It might come back to me. But the story is called The Ones That Walk Away from Omelas. It's a profound story. Let me just add, I can set up the story very, very quickly for you. I know how my people will answer, and I know how progressives would answer. And this is the difference between conservatives and progressives, is how they would answer this question. The basic story of how they run of those that walk away from Omelas is this. There is a town, a city, a walled city called Omelas. And inside Omelas, Omelas is beautiful. It's like Minas Tirith. Everything sparkles, everything is clean. The banners snap in the wind, the silver trumpets blow. No one is sick. There is no disease in Omelas. There's no poverty in Omelas. There's no hunger in Omelas. There's no nothing in Omelas. Omelas is a paradise of genuine philosophy, genuine love. All the children are loved in Omelas, and all the parents love them. All the food is pure, and everything works. It is utopia and paradise on earth. However, what we find about Omelas is one thing, and that everybody in the city of Omelas knows that this is true. The reason that Omelas is free from any kind of disease, free from any kind of hunger, free from ignorance, free from hatred, free from murder, free from burglaries, it's free from all of that. The reason that this is the case is because in a dungeon in the center of the city, not in a nice gilded cage, in a dungeon in the basement of a regular store or something, an innocent girl is chained to the wall, and she lives in her own filth, and they keep sliding her a bowl of slop, and that's the only food she gets, and she is 100% innocent, but her suffering drives the happiness and the prosperity of everyone else. And it's clear, because these are the magical conditions in the story, it's clear that if this person is set free, then not only will all the beautiful things about Omelas go away, then disease will come to Omelas, and war will come to Omelas, and child abuse will come to Omelas, and thousands of people will die, and children that had previously been loved will be neglected, and fathers will come home as alcoholics, and they'll beat their wives to death, and disease will prosper and spread, and thousands will die horrible deaths. So therefore, probably including this girl, maybe including her, so therefore, no one can reasonably say that this isn't the deal to take, that this innocent person throughout this magical relationship has to suffer so that everybody else can live a life of virtue, happiness, joy, and love. But some people, she writes in the story, some people, very few, 1 in 100,000 or something, The deal is they're required to go down and see this person. Some people mock the person. Some people want to kick the person, the little girl. Some people are filled with a great deal of sympathy and wish they could do something, but they know that that is the deal. She is innocent and she stays locked up in this filth for the rest of her life in the darkness, or all of that up there goes away. And some people, 1 in 1,000, just wake up one day, think about that girl down there, and they walk away from them, Alice. And they never look back and they never go back. And I would be one of those people. And I think you would be too. Because no matter how much logic it makes about the end justifying the means, no matter the fact that if you broke that deal, you would then condemn happy, loving people to the same vicissitudes of life: disease, death, alcoholism, murder, rape, all of that. You're going to bring it into the world where it doesn't exist now in exchange for that person being set free. I wouldn't take the deal. And most of you wouldn't take it either. And the reason you wouldn't take the deal is because no matter what the material payoff is, and the material payoff is enormous, we know on some level that it is unjust. It is unjust. It is evil to make an innocent person pay for other people's happiness. It is unjust. You walk away from a place like that, and you go live in a world of disease where randomness may take thousands of children instead of this one child. It may take thousands of children or a million of them, but you are not living a life of ease and luxury at the expense of somebody innocent who is suffering for your luxury. You cannot bear it. You walk away. Walk away. I would walk away. I couldn't live with myself. I couldn't live with myself, and I'd be willing to bet you everybody who watches this show would feel the same way. What would progressives say about that? They would, and they wouldn't be lying for them to say, are you serious? Hundreds of thousands or millions of people are going to live healthy, and if you don't do this, they're going to die, they're going to catch diseases, they're going to die, thousands of people are going to die. Of course you sacrifice the child. Of course you do. Of course you keep her trying to... Look, it's really sad, but if she were let go and this deal were to happen, she might be sold into slavery, she might be beaten to death anyway. Yes, but. I am not... Ursula K. Le Guin, thank you, Dan. I am not going to succeed on the back of someone innocent suffering. And this is why we love capitalism. They think that capitalists are rich due to the suffering of the poor. This is the moral equation they make all the time. That's why they think capitalists and rich people are evil. But we, being people who believe in the free market, understand, look, my prosperity is not at anybody else's expense. I'm not taking money out of a limited pot that could otherwise go to some kid's education or their dinner. I'm creating new wealth on my own, and that wealth is going to be dispersed out to them. It's going to make their lives richer as well. I make my own wealth out of the work I do. The work I do is not dependent on anybody. It's not dependent on anybody. So that's why I'm a free market capitalist and a conservative. And that's why I would not take the deal. I wouldn't take the deal because that city, that beautiful, poetic, scientific, clean, spotless, healthy paradise is based on a fulcrum of evil. It's based, all of it, all of its beauty, all of its achievements, all of its health, all of its love, all of its kindness, all of its success, all of its wonder is based upon a fulcrum of one person suffering who doesn't deserve to suffer. And that's evil. It's wrong. It's wrong. And I wouldn't stand for it. So yes, end justifies the means is the worst thing that has ever been spoken in the English language, in my opinion.